We recently reported that Utah was ranked by CNBC as the top state for business. The annual survey is now in its 10th year, and over the past decade, there is one state with the best cumulative score, Texas, and it wins by a mile. Scott Cohn reports.
Texas does everything big. Big places, big spaces, big energy, nearly twice as much total energy production as its nearest competitor. And yet, as energy prices have plunged, Texas has barely missed a beat.
Very prudently, Texas has one of the biggest budget reserves of any state. Its rainy day fund is $9.6 billion.
It is a far cry from 30 years ago, when collapsing oil prices decimated the Texas economy. One of every 7 Texans lost their jobs. Foreclosures soared. Hundreds of banks failed.
The most costly bank rescue ever, so big it will add a burden to the national deficit.
Nothing like that to convince Texans to diversify.
Energy production, including oil, is still the largest industry in Texas, but it's no longer the only game in town. 25 years ago, Texas was relying on oil for around 25% of state revenue. Today, it's less than half that.
The state's largest employer is not an oil company, but a supermarket chain. And while the energy industry has grown in the last 30 years, so have other industries like healthcare. Texas has dominated the top states for business rankings the past 10 years, never finishing lower than second place. But all that time, oil prices were high. No one knew for certain what might happen in the next oil shock. Now they know.
While the state's revenues are down in the current fiscal year following very strong growth coming out of the recession, the economic strength of those other parts of the states have mitigated how severe the drop might have been.
But the story may not be over. The oil slump is less severe than the 80s, and no one knows for certain how long it will last. That means the state could still face fiscal pressures for some time to come. But for now, Texas is meeting the challenge in a big way. Scott Cohn, Nightly Business Report, San Antonio, Texas.